Hello everyone, Colin Canet here for Woodwork Web. You know, we try and make something for everybody at some time or another here. And today we're making a target stand for the sportsman in our audience. It has a replaceable Coroplast target attachment here on the upper side. Down below, we've actually made a storage place so you can store your extra targets down there. And the the legs are foldable so that the whole thing is easy to transport and easy to store. So stick around and see what we do to make this freestanding target stand. Now, what we know to begin with is there's a variety of different targets. They come in different sizes, and we don't care about the small ones. We only care about the big ones, because if we make it large enough to accommodate the big ones, of course, the small ones will fit on there just as readily. So we know that. Now, the building materials, I said, are just construction grade, but look at what we're using for a backing. Now, what I'm going to be using for backing is something called Coroplast, and it's basically like a corrugated plastic. It's relatively inexpensive, it's easy to cut, easy to replace, and it'll be perfect as a backing because you'll be able to staple these on or pin them on or whatever, even tape them on if you want. And the good thing with it is it's kind of self-sealing, so it'll last a long time, but we're still going to make it easy to replace. I decided to add a couple more inches, so I'm going to cut it at 5 foot 4 inches because it's easier to cut it off than it is to add it on later. The other thing we know is the inside measurement, so I'm going to cut the two 2x4s at 19 inches, and I'm even recycling some old 2x4s, so it's even more cost effective. So I just freehanded this template, and what I'll do is make a mark on both sides, and we'll just cut that out on the bandsaw, and that gets rid of that nasty knot there as well, so that works out nicely. Now, the other thing that I've done, if you look closely, you'll notice that I have some lines at the bottom along here, and I'm going to cut this chunk out so that we get a couple of little feet here, because these things are always more stable if you can lift the ends up a little bit. So let's go over to the bandsaw. These are the screws that I want to use for this because I want them to pull the ends in nice and tight. So I want to pre-drill those. Now I just need to make sure that's lined up on the back side with my mark. I'm not going to tighten them up right now. I'm just going to just snug them. Now the next thing I need to do is to run, this is where the coroplast will slide down, but it's going to flop around in there, so I want to run some, and I cut these earlier, I just want to run a couple of rails on each side so that it can run down. Okay, we'll just run a bit of glue down those. Well, now I want to put the legs on, and I'm not just going to bolt them on or screw them on. I'm going to drill some holes on, and I've got them marked, a couple of marks on both of the legs, and I'm going to make a couple of marks on the upright as well. And what I want to do, in fact, I'm going to drill 3 holes on here because when it's not in use, you'll be able to move it up like that so that instead of having this in the way, you'll just have one long, narrow thing to store. Perfect. Now I just want to mark the center of this with my little center finding jig. And I'm just going to drill 1 hole up here, then I'll put the leg on to make sure I get the right distance on the other hole. And where there we go. So what I want to do is I'm going to put some very thin strips around here, and I'm just going to glue them on here so that when you put your target sheets in there, when you lift them up, they won't fall through. And then we'll fasten them on with just some Velcro straps. I'm going to go ahead now and glue the strips on. I've just cut them. They're just thin strips, just some offcuts that I keep hanging around, just a bit of scrap lumber. And I don't have any. Well, our little glued up pieces are all finished, and I love how nice and flat it is now. There's no warping at all on it, so it's perfect. Now what I've done is I've marked the centers and 4 inches up from each side, and I'm going to be using this industrial Velcro product, and it's perfect because it's already sticky backed, and because I'm using some recycled wood here, it's already been painted, and that's perfect as well. I'm just going to rough it just a tiny bit. Put on there. That easy to take off, and that's how it works. What a great little system. I love Velcro. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to put the Velcro pieces on, and the only thing I wanted to show you here is that when you put this on bare wood, they do have a tendency to lift off, I have found. Now, to stop that, they only lift off when you first put them on, so what I do is put a couple of staples in, and that just holds them really well. Lock that. And that'll stop them. It still works fine. It just stops this from lifting off until it gets really fixed to the wood. Well, now we get to see if this all works. And it's not too complicated, so hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. Now there's an interesting wrinkle. You need to know where the top and the bottom is. Well, that fits in there perfect. There's more and more. It goes down there. Fasten on all the sides. There we go. And is that going to stay in there? Perfect. Wow, that's great. Well, there's our finished target stand, and you know, we do all sorts of different kinds of videos here. We try and do something for everybody. So this is for the shooters. Bow and arrow, you could put a padded target in there for pellet guns, for rifle, all sorts of different things. You could use this airsoft possibly with a different kind of padding in here. So lots of cool things you can do with this. We got the storage down here, and all this was just innovation. We didn't start with any plans. We just started with what the end result, what we knew was a target size, and we made it built on that. So pretty innovative idea. Don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed, we ask you to do that. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, but most of all, stay tuned because we've got so many more videos to do, and I'm sure there'll be something that you'll like in the near future. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.